This is a very beautiful picture of a tragic and disastrous event, the Memorial Day flood of 1935, which is called Colorado Springs' greatest natural disaster. 4 people were drowned in the 1935 flood. Hundreds of homes and businesses were destroyed or damaged. Most of the city's bridges were washed out. And the city's crown jewel park at the time, the Monument Valley Park, was almost entirely destroyed. Today we're used to seeing natural disaster events like this unfold in real time and high definition as video images are beamed across space into our homes and flash across our television screens. The red letter word live appearing prominently reminds us that what we're seeing is real and happening right now, making the sensation of seeing it all the more horrifying and sickening. But this is a brand new way of experiencing the world. In 1935, the most immediate way of visually experiencing a natural disaster like this, if you weren't present at the event, was through newspaper photography. Up until about 1935, a photograph might be printed in a local daily newspaper the same day or the day after an event like this had occurred. But that year, 1935, the year of the great Memorial Day flood in Colorado Springs, the Associated Press launched its Wire Photo Network, which allowed photographs to be distributed simultaneously all across the country over telephone wires, just after an event had happened. As proof of our voyeuristic curiosity to see the tragedy of others firsthand, the first photograph transmitted via the AP network was of a disaster, an airplane crash. This photograph, of course, isn't really a photograph of the flood, but rather the aftermath of the flood, taken one day later. The event has happened, and what we see are people trying to figure out how to deal with it. The flood waters, silt and debris occupy the foreground of the photograph, nearly half the picture plane. Most of the interesting detail of the picture lies in a narrow band that divides the image in half horizontally. In addition to the wrecked cars, wrecked houses, and uprooted trees, there are 8 people in that middle zone. At the very left edge of the picture are 2 women walking in the shadows, wearing dresses and white high-heeled shoes. Nearby, 2 men are engaged in conversation near a huge tree that remains standing. Perhaps they're talking about how they survived the flood, or maybe what they lost. Another man picks a path across the flooded street toward 2 well-dressed figures standing on a dry spot with their backs to the camera. Maybe they're city officials or perhaps insurance adjusters. They're examining the destruction and might be planning a recovery strategy. To their right stands a boy in profile dressed in a uniform. He looks like he might be a Boy Scout, and he seems to be absorbing a very profound and perhaps life-altering lesson.